Hello, my love. My name is Gina Lee, and welcome to the Gina podcast. I'm so happy you're here, and I hope you're having a fantastic day so far. Today's episode is going to be about women and traditional values. I am incredibly opinionated on this topic, so I'm super excited to share this with you guys. I've also had a shift in perspective over the past few years about the way I view traditional values and women. So I'm excited to hear y'all's opinions on this topic as well. But without further ado, let's get into the video. We are going to be talking about traditional gender roles and how they should work in modern times. That is, if you even want to practice traditional roles and relationships. And what I am kind of thinking of when I think of traditional, like, roles for a woman and also a man in a relationship is the maybe 50 style relationship where the man would provide pretty much fully for the woman financially, and she would stay at home and cook, clean, do all the chores, keep the house to the freaking nines, like super, super clean, clean enough for a house showing, and also take care of the children in the scenario that they had children. Most of the people at that time did have children, as far as I know, because damn, who's shooting? Okay. Well, I hope that that's not for me. It's pretty far away, but God, I don't know, man. The baby boom has slowed down quite a bit, so people are not having children as much anymore. Also, because economically, a lot of people are not doing super well right now. And that is also why I wanted to discuss this because a lot of people have these views on traditional relationships, but the world does not work economically like it did, say, in the 50s. So, as a result, there's not going to be that many people, in my opinion, who can practice those traditional values and live a comfortable life financially. We're not just going to be harping on men or women. I'm going to be kind of coming at the both of us here, y'all. I am definitely targeting both groups of people here. There is not just one thing that women are doing and just one thing that men are doing, or vice versa. It's a collective issue, I believe, and I think that social media has made the view of traditional values really shitty in the past, like, 5-10 years or so. And I don't know, I don't feel like people go outside enough, which is funny because I'm literally outside right now. But I mean that I don't think people go out and meet real people enough anymore. I think they spend too much time on their phones and just absorbing what these influencers and people online say about traditional roles and relationships, and I don't like it. I had a really big written out plan for this podcast, but I'm already getting a little bit heated and very excited to talk about this. So I think I'm just going to freaking wing it and then look down at my little notes every once in a while. Let's start by talking a little bit more about these traditional roles and relationships. My point of view on traditional relationships is typically what we would see like in the 50s, right? Minus the wife beating, hopefully. That was not a funny joke. I should probably get that one out. I typically look at the 50s and that kind of dynamic when I think about a traditional style relationship. I would say that the 50s are close enough to us to where we could kind of still like see a little bit of how that worked versus looking at traditional roles of women in the 1800s. You know, that's a little bit far back and times have changed incredibly. Times have changed a lot since the freaking 50s, but a lot of people still hold on to that idea of those typical relationship styles in the 50s. So that's why I really want to dive into that and discuss that specifically. Hell, if you were born in the 50s and you want to correct me on this and say, hey girl, you've got it all freaking wrong, tell me. I'm totally okay to corrections because I am not a historian by any means. I have some knowledge and I'm very like opinionated, so I like to share that with y'all. In the 50s, the man would typically work pretty much full time and the woman would stay at home with the children and cook, clean, take care of the kids. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, cooking, cleaning, and cleaning up after children, especially, oh my God, that is basically a freaking full time job. The reason why the traditional roles today are so skewed is partially because of the economic state of the world. And also, specifically, I live in America, so I'm more so talking about America here. The reason why that worked to a certain extent is because a full time job used to be able to support a family. Let's say the man is working a full time job, that used to be able to support, let's say, a family of four, sometimes more. Nowadays, it is more likely that both people in a relationship need to be working a full time job to be able to support themselves and also each other. I personally live by myself and I support myself, but I'm not going to tell you guys that it's like lavish because it's not. It's incredibly expensive for me. I put a significant amount of the money I make towards rent, and I have to go to the discount grocery store for groceries, and I don't get to go to all these super lavish fun things because of I wanted to live by myself, and that was what I prioritized. Now, someone in a that was just a little side note, but someone in a relationship, like I was saying back then, that traditional role and those traditional values, the woman was able to stay at home and take care of the kids, cook, clean, whatever. Even if they didn't have kids, she was still probably cooking, cleaning, and all that jazz. The woman was able to do that because the man's full time job would support them fully. So they would have, probably a relatively nice house. If he's working a decent job, a car, they were able to afford food and prepare food for themselves as well. And like I said, typically the woman would do most of the cooking. There's a couple questions I want to address in this podcast. I actually posted on my Snapchat, and if you don't follow me on Snapchat, you're welcome to go follow me on there. I will link that down in the description. I get a lot of my podcast ideas and a lot of input from you guys. I'm very active and interactive on Snapchat, but I posted on Snapchat and asked people what they wanted to see from my next podcast, and my favorite topic or idea, I would make that my next podcast topic. So the one that I settled on was who provides more value in a relationship, women who support themselves and are very independent and take care of themselves, or a woman with more traditional values, aka cooking, cleaning, taking care of the home, whatever, possibly children if they have children. And I do really like that question. I do kind of want to answer that a little more at the end because I don't think it's really a cut and dry answer. I think it's going to depend on both people and what their values are and what they want from a relationship. But I will kind of answer that a little bit later on. And then I was also going to talk about whether or not traditional gender roles in relationships in modern times still work or whether or not I believe they don't. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but I did kind of want to give you a little bit of the questions I'm going to be answering for you guys and somewhat of the theme for this podcast as well. Back to the financial side of things. Choosing the 50s is my time period for this. So women could stay at home and be a homemaker versus now, unless the man or the provider in the relationship is working an absolutely phenomenally paying job, it is more likely that both people will need to work to provide for themselves and also one another. Things have changed a lot economically, so that traditional idea is not nearly as accessible or easy to obtain as it used to be. Let's get into the more opinionated side of things, okay? Like I said before I say this, I'm not just going to be digging on men and I'm not just going to be digging on women. It's going to be a collective diss. It's not really a diss. It's just that some of y'all need to hear this and, get off your damn phones and go outside and talk to people and get new opinions and perspectives and all that jazz. So I'm not being a hater. I'm just telling you what you need to hear. If it resonates, great. If it doesn't, thanks for listening. At least think about it. Thank you. A lot of men look back at, say, their grandparents and how they used to live, where the man would work and the woman would stay at home, take care of the kids, do all the chores, and also cook, whatever. They look at that and they like the idea of having a woman to basically take care of them after they get home from work, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think that practicing traditional gender roles in a relationship is wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't care. I don't care. It's your life, your opinion. If you want traditional style gender roles in your relationship, that is totally up to you. But there is a kicker. There needs to be balance. The problem with a lot of people today is that and this goes for men and women, they want the somewhat of the style of the traditional relationship, but they don't want to be putting in the work for it. So they want oh, I want someone to take care of me and do all this stuff for me, provide for me, or maybe cook and clean for me, both men and women. But I don't want to do my part. I just want them to do it for me. People have gotten fucking lazy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know y'all know this too. Like, it's not that radical of an idea. Y'all aren't stupid. Come on, let's be fucking for real. A lot of men want a traditional style woman. They see that maybe their parents had that, if their parents were somewhat okay off, and then their grandparents most likely had that style of relationship, and they just yearn for it. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. However, let's let's break this shit down, okay? They want that. And I'm not saying all men, so don't y'all clock me for that. This is a collective issue between men and women. All right? I'm a little bit of a feminist, but I'm not like radical as fuck about it. I think that, I don't know, I want shit to be equal, and that's pretty much the extent of I feel like I'm gonna piss some people off saying this. A lot of men want a woman who is going to cook, clean, and take care of everything as far as the home goes. And that's okay. That's fine, right? It's a personal opinion.
How do you know what's good for me? That's my opinion!
But they want her to work too. So they want a traditional style woman, but they also want her to pay half of the rent. Girl. Girl. Not just do they want that, but they want a woman to put in half of the finances because shit's expensive, and that's totally understandable. They want a woman to put in half the finances, but they want her to put in half the finances, do all of the fucking chores, the cooking, the cleaning, and if they have kids, I don't know, figure that shit out. Take them to daycare, pick them up, bring them back, whatever. They want them to take care of everything because they're working hard as a man. But now they're having the woman work hard and also do all of the housework, cooking, cleaning, chores, whatever the fuck. Setting out your outfits for the next day. Bitch, I don't know what you got going on. So they want them to do all that, and they also want them to put out at the end of the night. Bitch, are you serious right now? Okay, let's just take this back for a minute, all right? I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I'm a very hardworking individual. I love to work hard. If I don't work hard, I feel like shit. Okay. I just hate myself and I hate my life. And I love to work hard. It gives me purpose. And I love to also take care of someone to a certain extent. I love to do chores for people and cook for people and do all that stuff for them. And I also love to work. Like, those are things that I all really, really enjoy. But I don't like to do them all by my fucking self. Okay. And you can best believe that if I was working and I do work like a 9 to 5, but if I was working a 9 to 5 and coming home, taking care of the kids, I don't have kids, taking care of kids and cooking, cleaning, doing all of the dishes, whatever, laundry, making sure the house is ready for a fucking showing, it's so clean. And the man was just sitting down watching TV, eating dinner, not even putting any motherfucking work as far as the chores and the cleaning goes. Bitch, that's 2 full-time jobs. I'm not putting out at the end of the night. That's a terrible idea. A lot of guys want women to do everything for them, and they are aware that the economic state of the world is quite shit right now. So but they're still holding on to traditional values. Girlfriend, or actually boyfriend, whatever. That shit doesn't work. That shit doesn't work. If you want a woman with traditional values, okay? And you want her to be cooking, cleaning the house all the time. And if you've got kids, taking care of them all the time, that's basically a full time job, baby girl, okay? You're gonna have to have that motherfucking money. You're gonna have to have that motherfucking money. I'm gonna be so honest with you. You're gonna have to have it. You're gonna have to have it. Those traditional style relationships don't work very well anymore unless the provider is incredibly well off. If they are, well, it can work. It can work. It absolutely can. Traditional style relationships don't work either unless both people are into that kind of dynamic. So if you are a guy and you are going for a woman who is incredibly independent and is not flexible whatsoever as far as what she wants, which is totally up to the person, by the way, then I don't think that's gonna work. You are going to have to find someone who either is down for traditional style gender roles or values, or someone who is flexible and is willing to go either way. And that's totally fine. But don't be going after Miss Independent who's got a fucking booming career and expect her to quit her job for you. If she said that she's not wanting to do that, pick a new one. I'm sorry. I really do believe there's someone out there for everyone, but we can't change people unless they are willing to be a little bit flexible. And we also shouldn't try to change people and their core beliefs. Okay. Just find someone else who matches a little better with you and you get along with well. Back to that, a woman who pays 50% of everything shouldn't expected to do 100% of the housework. I think that that's a pretty basic thing and not super radical, like I said. However, like I was saying, a lot of people are God, I don't know. A lot of people just don't get out anymore and don't get off their phones and spend all their time in front of a screen. So then they think that, okay, if I, work a okay paying job, then she's going to have to do all this stuff for me. But at the same time, I can't afford this place unless she puts in money as well. So I'm going to need her to do that and do all this stuff for me because my job's just so tiring. And even though she's tired, she's like a woman. She's built for this, right? Girl, cut that shit down. Cut it down. No. No, 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 no. No. Do I have to say it again, or did you hear me the first time? No. Let's say the man and the woman both work reasonably paying jobs, but in order to fully support themselves and each other, they both need to work. So that traditional style relationship is not going to work with their current economical status, right? And if that is the case, I think that chores slash housework should be split 50-50. And that's not to say that you have to be doing the same thing every time or you have to do 50% of the cooking, she does 50% of the chores, whatever, vice versa. You don't have to split everything right down the middle. That's not what I'm saying. I just think that the work that goes on inside the house to make the house a home and to live comfortably, all of that work should be split up. Regardless of how it's split, let's say she is better at cooking. And that's a pretty generalized thing to say. I am not saying that guys can't cook. Actually, my partner is a wonderful cook and he cooks for me all the time. He's wonderful. That's not to say that the guy, if he just doesn't know how to cook, and the woman does know how to cook, that he has to learn how to do that, immediately. Do I think it's best for people to know how to do things on their own, like do chores properly, laundry, all that jazz, and also cook and clean? I think yes. I think that people should know how to do that and they should take the time and effort to learn those skills because if you're not in a relationship, then you're probably having to do that shit yourself unless you have a mate. And in that case, girl, you could just be as traditional as you wanted. If she is a better cook or you're a better cook, you can split it up that way and just say, okay, I'll cook. And this took me about an hour. So if she spends about an hour cleaning things up, maybe doing the dishes only took 15 minutes. So she cleans up something else, does a little bit of laundry, whatever. So just kind of splitting things up. That way you are splitting up the amount of time that you're putting towards chores and making the house a home. I'm excited about this because I used to be really into like radical or very, very far left feminism, which I think is often taken too far. My personal opinion, it does not have to be your own. I used to be really into the idea of, okay, well, we used to do all of these things for men cooking, cleaning, doing everything, taking care of the kids. And now I want a man who's going to do everything for me and work. Okay. I want to work a little part time job that's not paying very well and let him work a full time job that pays good as fuck and me come home and do nothing. And then he's doing all the housework for me. Let's switch the roles. My perspective on this shit has changed so much, so much. I used to think somewhat like that, like in high school, I think, because I was very like, I mean, on social media, I was on social media a lot and just feeding into stuff like, yeah, fuck men, because I was picking super terrible men that treated me like absolute dog shit. So I just got this whole perspective of I'm not going to be with a man unless he does literally everything for me and provides for me. That's how it's got to be. No, I don't believe that shit anymore. With all that being said, we're actually going to be diving into the way a lot of women think nowadays. And I am saying a lot. I'm not saying all women, just like I wasn't saying all men. If you feel targeted and you do this shit, then it's meant for you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm actually not sorry. You need to hear it. Going back to something somewhat more traditional, let's talk about a stay at home wife or slash mom. If the man slash provider is out making money, working hard to support you, and if you have a family, them as well, and you are sitting at home doing nothing all day, not cooking, not cleaning, not preparing anything, not doing anything to support the house, girl, that shit's not okay. Okay, that's when it's not equal. If a woman expects full financial support, then she should be bringing value to the home. There is a difference between being a homemaker and being lazy. If you are taking care of things at the house and making sure to put in work at home and nearly working a 9 to 5 or making sure everything is okay and good for whoever comes home, I think that's fantastic. I think that's fantastic. But if you're just laying on your ass all the time and being lazy, that's a no go for me, girlfriend. Let's talk a little bit about men specifically. Stating again, not all men, just some of y'all. You can't expect a woman to work full time and then do all of the housework. Pick a lane. Pick a lane. You can't expect them to do everything, all right? Because at that point, you don't have a wife or a girlfriend. You have got a little like maid. You've got a maid that you're not really paying for because she's putting in half the finances as well. It's different if you, I don't know, look at her as a maid, which is still not okay, y'all. You should not look at your partner as a maid. But if you are, I don't know, if she's at least paid and taken care of, God. If she's not, girl. If you want help with bills, then you need to help with the chores. So putting in some effort somehow and making it equal is the main argument that I'm trying to make here. It's not to say that you can't do traditional style relationships because I'm not here to tell you what you can and cannot do. That is for you to decide. You need to have equality in the relationship regardless. Now we're going to go back and answer those questions we spoke about a little bit originally. Does a woman who plays a more traditional role in the household or an independent woman who works and provides for herself provide more value? I think that it is going to depend on what you want in a relationship. If you want a woman who is more traditional, then you are going to have to work a well paying job and pull your weight, just as she will have to do that same thing as well, taking care of the home, all that jazz. As far as the independent thing goes, I personally believe that a woman who is more independent and has the capability of taking care of herself in a relationship does provide a little bit more value. That is not to say that traditional style relationships cannot still work today. However, I believe that if you are wanting something like that, it would be best if both people were a bit flexible. So if the one man is wanting something more traditional and the woman is wanting that as well, then I think it's best that both people have some experience being alone and taking care of themselves by themselves before that. Let's say that a traditional style relationship goes to shit. The man loses a lot of his income, maybe he's fired or demoted in a job, and now the woman is forced to pick up a job. She should be willing to pick up a job and have the experience of working. That's what I was saying about having someone who's very well rounded and flexible in the scenario that something different needs to happen. Okay. Let's say she's willing to do that. Good, all good. Then at that point, the man needs to be willing to do some chores or do some of the cooking, however you guys like to split it up. If you have someone who is so focused on traditional roles in a relationship that if things go to shit, they're not willing to change what they do, that's not going to work. If you want a traditional style relationship, that's fine, but I would look for someone with some flexibility and some experience on their own, taking care of themselves, and someone who's willing to put in the work for the relationship and the household. I really want to hear what you guys think about this topic because it's a pretty hot one. People are very opinionated on traditional style relationships and gender roles. So I want to know what y'all think about traditional style relationships and gender roles in modern times. So if you would like to, you can definitely leave that in the comments or message me on Snapchat and Instagram. I just really want to know what y'all think about that. And I will leave my socials linked below. All right, love, that is all I have for you today. I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day. Please leave me a comment and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more content like this. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I love you so much. I appreciate you. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you. Bye.